And we're here on Geek Society. Welcome. It's a good morning, and it's a very snowy morning. And on the Geek Society, we're going to talk about Darth Vader Extremely Wild, Oscar Isaac on X-Men Apocalypse, and Pedro Pascal cast a new Star Wars show. First off, we're going to talk about the unfortunate passing of Stan Lee, and we're going to go um, and probably I'll just do like a little tribute by just talking about Marvel movies in general for like the next 10 minutes. Yeah, so I can and then maybe say some like quotes from him. And in general, I'll probably just talk about first how I got into Marvel and why I like it and why I think it and how I feel about it and what I think it will do in the future. So that's probably four things, and I'll run them right now. Well, basically, I got into Marvel pretty early. I think I was probably I forgot, like probably 7 or 8 years old. I think about like 6 or 7, but I forgot. I was super young, and my mom showed me like the original Spider-Man from 2002, and it was like on a VHS. Basically VHS. So basically before DVD or even 4K or digital downloads. I saw the original Spider-Man, and it was really good though. I really liked the way especially Tom Maguire's version of Spider-Man. I just like the way he just, portrayed the character like as Peter Parker. He was like the best Peter Parker. You know, and at the time, we saw also, well, that was because the movie came out like so long ago, like 2002. I was like 7 years old, so I think my mom said she took me to like see like the Spider-Man 2 in theaters. I don't really remember that, but I do remember seeing it like later on though. And Spider-Man 3 came out, and it was like man, everyone was talking about it, but then when it finally premiered, no one talked about it anymore. I'm like, oh man, what's wrong with it? But still, I mean, yeah, my first way to get into Marvel was basically the Spider-Man movies. And I didn't really read the comics, I think I read some of the comics here and there, only whenever I had like comics that were offered to me. I think maybe the first comic I read was given to me in elementary school. It was like Spider-Man fighting the Sandman, and it was like a super old comic from the '60s. I think of the teacher assistant gave it to me, and I was like, okay, this looks nice. And in general, I just thought, hey, this is probably. But when it came to Marvel, and how I felt about it, especially with the MCU when Iron Man came out, and then Thor, and then Captain America, and I think that's what Stan Lee was trying to go for, which was make characters that weren't like out of the ordinary, that were just like extremely like escapism, like, oh, we can never be this person, I can never be Batman, I can never be this person, you know. And personally, Marvel, did a good job doing that. I feel like, especially Stan Lee, passed away, man, about like 4 or 3 days ago, he passed away, and I was really shocked. My favorite Marvel movie of all time would have to be like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, because I felt like that was more of a thriller, like James Bond was more associated with Black Panther because he has like all the, you know, like a lot of luxuries, and whatnot. But here we go. You know what? My motto is Excelsior. That's an old word that means upward and onward to greater glory. It's on the seal of the state of New York. Keep moving forward, and if it's time to go, it's time. Nothing lasts forever. Stan Lee. And then one more. Life is never completely without its challenges. Stan Lee. Yeah, rest in peace to Stan Lee, and you'll be greatly missed. Excelsior. When it came to the new Star Wars shows, especially since it's going to be aired on Disney, I think Disney Plus. Yeah, Disney Plus. I don't know why they gave it that name. It's so weird. Anyway, instead of me just making fun of the Disney name, Disney Plus, I feel like it really will do well in terms of beating out competitors like Netflix or whatnot. And I don't really know what to say at this point, when it comes to this. I just feel like all I don't know. I mean, I know I'm kind of slow, ladies and gentlemen. Just talking about these stories, but usually when I talk about these stories, like whenever I'm alone, I always talk about these stories, like as if I was talking about a play, or just some random art stuff, and just talk about it for hours and hours. Here, just talking on the radio in a mic, it's a little more. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of put on the spot, but basically, like I mean, personally, when it comes to Star Wars in general, the lore is so enriched with mythology and metaphors that it's impossible not to expand the story. You know what I mean? Because I mean, they could have left the story as it was in 1977 and just made it like all time classic, like Planet of the Apes, or what else was that? Or the original Terminator. But of course, like Terminator and the Planet of the Apes, they got sequels. And some sequels were pretty good, and some sequels were not that good. Same cases with Star Wars. I mean, my personal gripe with Star Wars is probably the new sequel trilogy, which is, I feel like more of a rebranding of the original trilogy. But anyway, that's just my own personal problem with it, and I just kind of see, you know, that Disney is trying to use all of Star Wars like metaphors and meanings and expanding it into the whole plot lines of some of these movies, like hope and friendship and the Force. I'm like, yeah, the Force is Star Wars, but it's not what makes Star Wars Star Wars. It's a whole bunch of other factors. But anyway, I'm gonna move on to another story, and that story is okay. I'm gonna actually well. I'm just gonna go on here. Oscar Isaac on X-Men Apocalypse, and I was looking at the article this morning. Not the whole article. I usually don't look at the articles. I just look at the title and then I just say, okay, this sounds good. Then I just bring it here to you guys. Here on the comicbook.com, Oscar Isaac calls his time on X-Men Apocalypse, quote, excruciating, end quote. Oscar Isaac, who played the eponymous ancient mutant in X-Men Apocalypse, says the costume and makeup effects required to portray the villain made this time on set excruciating. Apocalypse, that was excruciating. I didn't know when I said yes that was going to be happening. That I was going to be encased in glue and latex in a 40-pound suit that I had to wear a cooling mechanism at all times. Oscar Isaac told GQ to portraying blue skin supervillain. I mean, at first I thought it was gonna be more like, oh, he's gonna complain about Marvel and the movie. Like, okay, that's what I was thinking at first. I think I made that impression right before the get go, but no, it was just he couldn't stand the suit. And I think that was the same thing with like Jennifer Lawrence. She just couldn't stand. She said she was gonna like not do X movies anymore. With Jennifer Lawrence, even she didn't even like the suit because at times it was when she put it on, it would hurt her skin, and it was like made of iron or something. It was made of nickel. It was made of some chemical, the paint that would be put on her, and whatnot. And she just didn't like it. I just really, really appreciated, when I hear stories about actors and actresses in movies, because then it gives me a greater understanding of the set. Because I'm a filmmaker, I want to try to go into Hollywood myself. So there's any producers out there listening to me, just be mindful. But anyway, Darth Vader, extremely wild. And I saw this whole bunch of times on my feed, like yesterday and this morning, and I was like, I don't know if I'm interested in the story, because it was based on like a Darth Vader comic book, and I know my listeners may not be reading the comics, and I'm definitely not reading the comics, because that's not that it's not good. It's just I didn't having because I mean there's no comic book store for the eye can see in this town, so I can't just like walk to the comic store and buy a comic for 25 cents and tell you guys what I think of it. That's not how it works today. You know what I mean? Probably get like a digital copy and look at it on my phone and read you guys some of the quotes, but that might be copyrighted. So anyway, I continue on, and that is here on IO9, and that is Gizmodo.com. Marvel's Darth Vader comic is doing something extremely wild with the dark side. We barely know what the Force is in Star Wars. Pushing, sensing, lifting rocks, projecting yourself across millions of miles. It just scratches the surface of that mysterious, impermeable energy that binds us all together. But the latest arc of Darth Vader might have opened a bonkers new door. It might have blown the door clean off. As latest in an arc that has sought to explore the origins of Darth Vader's sinister castle at Mustafar. Star Wars insists the need to categorize and over-explain the needs of everything we've previously seen before can often, be annoying. But Darth Vader is less interesting in giving Darth Vader's castle a Wikipedia entry. Yeah, I feel like I heard something about Vader, how Vader's castle and why it's on Mustafar. I think I heard like a rumor that it was the reason why he had it on Mustafar in general was because he, of course, if you look at Revenge of the Sith, how he fought, fought like, fist fight, Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar for like 11 minutes, and I forgot how long, it was like a super long fight scene, but anyway, he was fighting for a super long time. He lost both his arms, and no, not both his arms, but he lost one of his arms, lost both his legs, and he at the same time he accidentally killed Padme, his only wife, so basically a lot of and I think I heard like how Mustafar had all of his like that's like the birth of where his anger like really like was teeming with darkness, and how it just builds in that one area because of those two tragedies, fighting his best friend and hurting the one he loves the most. And I think I heard that's why he left it on Mustafar. That's why he has his castle there, so that he can like kind of like rebuild his energy, in the most darkest way you can think of, when he just, like rebuilds it in just this darkness and this billowness of just sadness. It's really edgy. Anyway, resurrecting Padme, I feel like that's like the only reason Vader became Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker had to turn to the dark side because he had to figure out another way to save her in the most unconventional way possible. Once he became Vader, there was like a little bit of him that was still there, but most of it was darkness, So once he became evil, he was already Vader. So I feel like that plan to resurrect Padme was like no more. It was like, oh, that's in the back of my mind. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm already helping this guy out. He's gonna help me, fulfill my dreams or whatnot. I mean, I feel like in episode 9 they should really touch on that, and maybe they should, maybe I don't know, maybe Kylo Ren or maybe Darth Vader's like Force Ghost should like go in and say like, oh, Kylo Ren, I have this my grandmother, or not grandmother, the woman that I love, she's your grandma basically, and I tried to save her, I tried to resurrect her, I tried multiple times, it didn't work, I tried doing this, I tried doing that, I mean, basically the Force didn't help me do anything. The only thing it made me do was just, to, slaughter millions of people, in a matter of a couple of years, and that was just hunting down remaining Jedi, that was hunting down people on planets and conquering and whatnot, I just, if the dark side just used me, that would be really cool. You know what? If J.J. Abrams is listening to this show, if you guys know him or know someone who may have connection with that, tell him to write this in the script, and that is, in particular, the dark side used me.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, wealth and fame, he's ignored, action is his reward to him. Life is a great big hang-up, wherever there's a hang-up, you'll find a Spider-Man.